What's up, guys? This is Coach Grant with First Down Training, and today we're going to be breaking down Brett Favre's throwing mechanics, guys. We're going to talk about how he was able to make some of the throws that he did, what gave him so much throw power on the ball, and how he makes some of these like off-platform and changing up arm angle throws, all right? And guys, if you're a quarterback and you want to get better reading coverages, understanding defense, that's probably the most important part for any quarterback. Check out that link in the description where we have already broken down 100-plus NFL defenses, plus we give you 4 new breakdowns every single week, something you can learn new on football IQ, understanding coverages, reading defenses. You spend 15 minutes a day on this, your game is guaranteed to change, and you will have a better idea of how to approach each play. You won't just be out there guessing, okay? So now this first clip we're going to look at here is a throw by Brett Favre, changing up his arm angle, right? So we're going to talk about how you need to change up or when you would need to change up your arm angle, what the mechanics are, and what you need to do with your front side when you change up that arm angle. So let's watch this clip full speed. So you see how he's coming here, he puts the brakes on, changes up his arm angle, and throws this thing through about 3 defenders. This is a really, really good throw here. And the reason why he was so accurate, the main thing I want to talk about is this front shoulder. And this is something you quarterbacks can learn about. Now, a lot of people, haven't really thought of Brett Favre as a big mechanics guy, right? They just think he goes out there and slings it, which is probably true. But the way he throws the ball, there's a lot of mechanically sound things that he does. He gets his front foot down fast. He's able to get that back hip through and really drive his hips. And that is a major key for any quarterback to be able to get more velocity on this throw and to have a little bit more consistency like on this throw as well, being able to change up your arm angle and throw, right? Now, I'm not saying that he just goes out there and throws the ball. That's how he seems to play, right? But I'm sure this is something that he's worked on. They're all throws. Like you watch Aaron Rodgers when he warms up or when he practices, he's working on these hard throws, these off-platform throws where he has to sometimes move in the pocket, can't set his feet and then get the ball out, or set his feet quick and then get the ball out, right? And that's probably something that he learned from Favre. And so this is a great example of how these throws can apply, how you can train for these throws, and some of the things that you can practice. Because you don't want to just sit there and make the easy throw. That's what people think about quarterback. But you want to sit there and make you want to try to make the hard throws easy. So you see when he makes this throw here, he always loves to swing that front arm out, right? But when you can keep that front shoulder square and you finish to the target square, you're going to have an easier time changing up your arm angle and throwing this thing sidearm, maybe throwing around a defender. You see Patrick Mahomes do this a lot today. You see Lamar Jackson do this a lot today, right? So you see when he takes this ball back, but when he finishes, look how square his body is, right? You could connect his shoulders all the way down to his hips, and that's in a perfect square, right? That's what you have to do to be able to change up your arm angle and to be able to throw this thing sidearm, right? It's just not just natural ability. A lot of guys have an easier time with this, right? But if you were to swing that front shoulder, a lot of people think that you got to open up that front shoulder and that's what makes you throw sidearm. You got to swing open and then that gets your arm around. All that does is that forces your body in the opposite direction of the throw. Your body's going left as your arm pushes right? But if you stay square like Favre does here, you can change up that arm angle manually, and wherever you flick that wrist, you see how he's flicking that wrist. This is a very Aaron Rodgers-esque throw right here, right? Where he's off balance, he throws this thing around a defender, changes up the arm angle manually. You're going to be more accurate when you change up that arm angle if you keep that front shoulder square, if you don't swing this thing open and swing it way around. You see how his back hip is coming through? He's got a bend to that back knee. He's light on that front foot. Very off-platform-esque throw here by Brett Favre, and then extending on that follow-through, right? Anytime we're working off-platform, anytime I got to throw off balance, I want to make sure I keep my shoulders square on release point. I don't lean out of there, and maybe this defender's not allowing him to lean, but we're going to see the accuracy that this causes. You want to keep your head level. You want to keep your shoulders square on an off-platform throw, and then I can change up my arm angle all I want. It's like I'm throwing darts. Those are the 3 keys. Rotate that shoulder, keep it torqued, stay square, change up the angle, and really emphasize that wrist flick like you're throwing at a dartboard. Those are the main keys, and you're still driving from that hip. You're still light on that front foot. Let's watch it again one more time. This is a great throw here by Favre. Put the brakes on, change up that arm angle, and thread the needle on this throw. Great job. Okay, so now we're going to be looking at a deep ball. We're going to look at what this head lean does on his deep ball here, and this was complete, by the way. I know we can't see that, but we're going to talk about how when he throws this thing, how his base is pretty wide. He does drop this ball very low, right? Now, this is just obviously he's trying to throw this thing as far as he can. He's probably throwing it from the opposite 40 into the end zone. I think that's what the play was, but it was a deep throw. It's like a Hail Mary situation, right? So now we're going to talk about what leaning your head out of it will do to this ball, but also what he does with his front side, with his front stride that gives him enough power on this ball, right? Because what a lot of people do that don't have natural, they don't have natural base, they don't have natural hips coming through this throw, is they'll try to make this kind of a throw where they lean out of everything. And there are 3 key consistent points that you have to be able to hit when you're throwing a deeper throw. Okay, so now you really got to make sure that you're driving off of this back leg, and you see Favre is doing that. He's pushing off the inside arch of this back foot like he's a pitcher, right? And you see he's like squeezing his knees together. Now what that does is that forces his front foot to come down fast. You see how he's pushing, and that gets the front foot down in the ground fast. That front foot's down in the ground here when he's in that L angle, right? He's in this backstroke. He drops this thing a little low, so it's a little bit long of a release, but he's in this backstroke, not a perfect L, doesn't need to be a perfect L. But when we get to here and we get my front foot down, your hip can shoot through this throw. And you see his hip is still able to shoot through. He still has that almost C-curved look. Now what he does is he dips his head and he dips his shoulder out of there because he's trying to throw this thing as far as he can. Who wouldn't do that? But what you see what that does to that release, you see how it extends it? Now, what quarterbacks fall into trouble of is when they're throwing this thing as far as they can, or they're not throwing this thing as far as they can. They're throwing a dig. They're throwing, a comeback. They lean the hell out of there, and then their release gets pushed up like this. When we're not throwing it with air, that's when I get some inconsistencies, right? Now, he leans his whole side out of this because that's going to get him more power into the throw, but he's also driving that hip. He's also able to get this front foot down, and look how he's striking this thing. Very light on the ground, has a bent knee to that front leg. That's how you're able to keep ground force, and then you see here, in a great position with his lower half. He's really squeezing that knee together. That's where all of his power comes from. Everybody thinks he's just got a naturally strong arm, right? He's got very natural base, very natural leg drive, very natural hip drive, and you see how the ball is still chasing that hip. That's the main key here. You want to get your hip through first while you're producing ground force. That's going to get you a lot of velocity on this ball, right? Obviously, the head lean and the shoulder lean, what quarterback wouldn't when they're trying to throw this thing as far as you can. You're not going to keep this a complete mechanically sound throw when you're trying to throw this thing 60, 70 yards downfield. Let's watch it again one more time. Great front stride, great hip drive. That's the main thing I want to talk about there. We can't stride long when I'm throwing a deep ball, and my hips can't be weak. Okay, so now we're going to talk about him throwing on the run here. Now, this is a rope, and we're going to see how him leaning out of the throw again with his head pushes that follow through out a little wide, but how his front arm stays tight to his frame, which is why he's able to be so accurate. Very similar to that off-platform throw that we were looking at 2 throws ago. So you see how he's coming here, and he leans out of this throw, but you see there's an absolute dot right here, back shoulder, very accurate shot, and then scores his touchdown for him. Let's watch this thing one more time. So when he's here and he starts this throw, again, he kind of drops this thing a little bit low, right? He's kind of in like almost a full circle here, or like almost 180 degrees, right? Now, we want to do so much like a half circle. We want to try to take that ball straight back so it's a little bit quicker of a motion, right? But his arm speed is still fast, right? If his arm speed is faster than, and his shoulder torque is still faster than the guy who takes the ball straight back, like I would rather have, like honestly, if you're asking me, I would rather have a low release but the arm is faster than a guy who has a higher release and takes this ball back straight to the L and then who gets it out slow, right? I would rather have a long release that's fast than a quick release that's slow, right? And you might think that's contradictory, but it's like the same thing. Like think of it like top of the route, right? Like you're running, like let's say you got a receiver and he's running a curl, and you get out of the break in 3 steps, but you're slow. You're being real hesitant with your feet, and then you got a guy who's running full speed and gets out of it in 5, and the time spent at the top of the route's quicker. Same thing with the quick release, right? I want the time spent with the ball in your hand in the backstroke to be quicker, right? So that's what I would rather take out of this. Yes, everybody would love to say that, yes, I want him to hold it higher, right? This is the way he throws that ball. Drops it a little bit low. I guarantee you he's probably been corrected on that a million times. I know he knows about it, but quarterbacks want to try to get straight to this angle, because if we can get quick in that L angle, then the ball is going to come out of my hands much faster than it would if a guy's dropping it low, right? So that's the angle that I want to get to. But you see when he's here and he's able to close that shoulder, he's stepping with the right leg in the direction of the throw. When we're on the run and I'm able to close my shoulder as I'm stepping with the right leg, that gets my hips to the target. And if I keep my front shoulder closed as my hips are going, that's torque, right? It's the same thing, same principle as throwing inside the pocket. You get your hips through, your shoulders go back, and the ball will shoot off your hand, right? So that's exactly what Favre does. He steps with that leg, keeps that shoulder closed. Now when he rotates through here, he's in a very square position. You see where he's at here. Now what happens here is he starts to lean his head out of the throw. And you see when he leans out of the throw, what happens to his arm? It gets kind of pushed outside of his frame. But what saves him is this front arm, right? Because when he leans, he's still able to keep that front arm nice and tight to his body. So it's wherever that wrist flick is going to go. But when you lean out with your head, you see what that does to the ball, right? Now, Favre saves himself here because he keeps that front arm tight. Like I said, if he were to swing this way around outside of his frame and he leans out of there with his head, this release is going to come almost sidearm and he's not going to be as accurate as he is. But because he's able to keep that front shoulder nice and tight and keep that hand tight to his body on the finish, when at the finish point you see how he's here, you see how he's square. Shoulders, hips, everything's at the target. Stepped with the right leg, his hips are in line with this throw, and he closed that shoulder and then kept it tight on the release. That's a mechanically sound throw. Just make sure he can't lean out of it with his upper half. So he's coming out here, steps with the right leg as he closes those shoulders. Keep that front arm tight. That's how you can get more velocity on the run. Creating torque with your shoulders, stepping with the right leg, getting your hips there, and flicking that wrist like you're throwing darts. All right, guys, I really want to thank you for watching. I really appreciate it. Again, if you're a quarterback and you want to get better at reading coverages, also you'll be able to send me your throwing mechanics when you sign up on my site. Check out that link in the description. And if you guys have any questions, please leave those in the comments. I'll see you guys next time.